Okay, so good afternoon to all and welcome to lecture number 12. Today we'll talk about the second last method of age detection, that is scale space approach for detection of the age and so on. And if possible, I'll take, okay, if time permits, I'll take how to detect the ages in multispectral images also. But I'm not sure whether it will be really, we can cover the entire part or not. Whatever is covered, okay, we'll take it in this lecture, and the remaining part we'll take it in our second lecture or tomorrow's lecture. Okay, so scale space approach is another technique with which we can detect the ages in the image and so on. Already we have studied the technique for detecting the age, like for example, first order derivative method technique methods, second order derivative methods, and then Laplacian of Gaussian technique, difference of Gaussian technique, and Fanning age detector. So these are the age detectors which we have studied up till now. And now in this lecture we'll be studying the scale space approach. See that why scale space or multi-scale signal representation is required. Okay, as a human being also we see the things in a multiple scale, okay, or you know that you get the different information at different scales. So at one scale you, okay, just simple imagine that like for example you are looking at the on the object, or like for example one person is there which is 50 meters away from you, okay, and if you take the photograph of that person, what will happen basically, you will get the image of that person, also you will get a lot of background, right? So you'll get background as well as you'll get the person's photograph. After that, in the second image, suppose for example you reduce the distance between that person and your camera, like earlier it was 50 meters, now it is 25 meters. Now if you take the picture of that second picture, what you'll get less background and more details of that person, right? So this is your second picture. Now in the third picture, what you did, you went very close, like for example 1 or 2 meters away, 2 meters away from that person, or 1 meter away from that person, and then if you take the picture at that time, okay, you'll get the entire picture, you'll get only that person, background will be very, very less, and so on. Now, so you have these three pictures, like first picture which is taken from far away, second picture, okay, distance is reduced, and third picture is very close. Now these three pictures are of same person. Now what is the difference between these three pictures? So see, the information which you get in first picture is different than information you get in second picture. Information you get in third picture is different than information you get in second picture. So see that in third picture you'll get all those details, close details, like for example if somebody is having a mole on his face, this is not visible from 50 meters away, but this will be visible from 1 meter away. So but at 1 meter away you will not get much details about the background of that person and so on. So see that you'll get the information. See, you have represented this image at multiple scales by changing the distance and so on, and you get more information about that object. So objects in the real world appears in a different ways depending on the scales of observation, right? So real world objects are composed of different structure at different scales. I'll show you one picture here, and from that you will come to know that okay, or for example you might have seen in this one, you might have used microscope. Generally microscope is used for what purpose? To see the tiny things which are not visible to our naked eyes. So what we do, we change the scale and then we go very close to that minute things and so on. So you can, by changing the scale, you can view that object at different scale and so on. So see that a formal theory for handling image structure at different scale is nothing but the multiple scale processing, and this determines like for example structures or ages which are most significant by considering the range of the scales over which they occur. Okay, now see that here what I meant to see here, you see that in the first scale, like for example, there is a jungle, right? You have taken a photograph of that jungle, right, at lambda 3. So this is the scale lambda 3, right? Now you got various trees are there, okay? You got the background, everything, and so on, right? By changing the scale, okay, you have taken a photograph at second scale only of one tree. Okay, so this tree in earlier in lambda 3, it was one of the component of this entire picture. Now you are going very close to this entire tree, and then you can see more details about this tree at lambda 2, that is scale 2. Now you are particularly interested in one of the leaves of that, so you have to go very close to that leaf, and then you can see, like for example, the structure, molecular structure of that leaf at lambda 1 and so on. So by changing the scale, you are getting the different information of the object or the scene and so on. So how we can describe the tree? Right from basically molecular level, that is from the leaf level to the entire tree to the entire jungle, or like that. So you get the information at a different scale, different information. So that's why see that we have to, when we have to do the scene analysis in a computer vision, okay, you need to have the information at different scales about that scene. Then you can explain that scene, or you can analyze that scene very well. So see that, for example, at scale 10 raised to minus 9 meter, you can see the molecules comprising of the tree, this one. And at 10 raised to 1, that is 1 meter, okay, 10 raised to 1 means 10 meter, you can see the entire, this one, at scale 10 meter, you can see the entire tree. And when at 10 raised to 3 means 1000 meter, that is 1 kilometer away from that jungle, you can, if you take the picture, you get various trees. So surrounding forest, you'll get it from 1000 meter, okay? Whereas 10 raised to minus 9 meter, you get the molecular structure of that leaf. And then from 1 meter or 10 meter away, you can get the picture of this entire tree. So you get at 10 raised to minus 9 meter, you get the molecular structure. At 10 raised to 1, that is 10 meter, you got this tree structure. And from 1 kilometer, you got the entire jungle. So you got the different information at different scale. So this information will be really useful for doing the scene analysis in the computer vision. Okay, so that's why scale-space representation is very, very important. Now look at this one. Another example, like for example, these are the three men standing here, and then this is the scene, and then at scale 1, okay, if you detect the age, you'll get like this. At scale 2, you'll get like this, and then at scale 3, so like this. And as you go on increasing the scale, you get the basically a wider picture, and then basically the small details will be vanishing. So like that. So scales at which important structures are present, for example, in the above image, people can be detected from 1 to 4 scale up to this, up to 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the 5th scale, it is not possible to detect the scale people and so on. All right. So here, multi-scale image representation, the need for multi-scale representation arises when designing the methods for automatically analyzing and deriving the information, that is scene analysis, from the real world measurement. So scene analysis is one of the important tasks in computer vision. And for this, representing the image at multiple scale will really help you to do the scene analysis correctly. So the form of description may be strongly dependent upon the scales at which the world is modeled, in clear contrast to the mathematical concepts such as point and the line, which are independent of the scales of observation, right? So here, what are the applications in computer vision for multi-scale image representation? So one of the application is compression can be achieved, high level of compression can be achieved. You know that this one, JPEG 2000 is one of the compression standard where wavelet transform is used for representing the image with multiple scales, and then from that compression can be achieved. So the high compression ratio with good SNR is the quality of that JPEG 2000. So multiple scale representation can be used for compression of the image. Also, this can be used for denoising, removing the noise from the image or scene. This can be also done because you know that when you are representing the image with multiple scales, so you are separating the frequency, spatial frequency in different subbands. Now, when you are separating the spatial frequency at different subband, you know that noise is also having high spatial frequency, so you'll get the noisy component in one of the subbands. So you can basically set some threshold value for that subband itself and keep intact all those subbands, and then combine it together, you'll get the noise-free image. So that is denoising is also possible. Then multi-scale pattern recognition, pattern matching is also possible with multi-scale image representation. Then image stitching, see that if you have the problem or if you have the limitation, hardware limitation of your camera, that you cannot take the entire picture because field of view of that camera is less. So if you want basically the entire picture of that scene in one frame or in one field of view, what you have to do, you have to take separately picture of this side, then this side, then this side, and this side. So you got 4 pictures, and then you have to stitch all those things. So that is nothing but the image stitching or image mosaicing also. So in that also you can use the multi-scale representation. And for segmenting the components or objects from the scene, multi-scale representation is really useful in the computer vision and so on. So these are simple, basically one of the simple examples of multi-scale image representation. Where we can use basically this one, multi-scale representation in computer vision application. Now, what are the ways to represent the images with multiple scales in computer vision? So one of the technique is you can represent the image like as a pyramid, okay, with multiple scale. Now you can also represent the image with multiple scale by using wavelet transform. You have a separate subject on that one. So wavelet, one-dimensional wavelet can be extended to two-dimensional wavelet, and then after decomposing the image for several levels, so you can represent the image with multiple scales. And you know that at every scale, you get the different spatial frequency information. And then from that spatial frequency information, you can do the analysis of that image and so on. Then multi-grid technique is also used and scale space approach is used. So see that here for multi-scale signal representation or image representation or scale space, you are handling the structure at different scales. Means you are changing the scale and you are representing the image. Again, you are changing the scale, you are representing the image. So you get the image with multiple scales. So by representing an image as a one parameter family of smooth image. So from one image, you are deriving the second image, from second image, you are deriving the third image, and so on by changing the scales. So scale space representation is parameterized by the size of the smoothing kernel. Now you know that for that you are using a smoothing kernel, that is nothing but the Gaussian kernel. And you know that for Gaussian kernel, this standard deviation, that is sigma, will decide the scale. So if you go on increasing the sigma, so definitely the standard deviation will increase. So neighborhood pixels will be more in that case, and so on. So there will be more blurring and so on. But if you are reducing the sigma, that is standard deviation, then Gaussian will be a very heighted one, and then it will have the less standard deviation, and then it will consider a very less number of neighborhood pixels, and then it will detect more details of the image and so on. So scale space representation is parameterized by the size of the smoothing kernel used for suppressing fine scale structure. The parameter t greater than or equal to 0 is the family. In this family is referred to as the scale parameter. So if you change the scale, okay, just correlate that one with your microscope. When you are changing the scale, you are going more and more close to the small things, tiny things. Like for example, in wavelet also, in the first scale, you get the four subband, that is LL subband, then LH subband, then HL subband, and then HS subband. In LL subband, you get the, see, in Violet, there are two filters. One is basically low pass filter and another one is high pass filter. With the combination of low pass filter and high pass filter in the image, when you're applying this row wise and column wise separately, you get four subband. One is row-wise low-pass filter and column-wise low-pass filter, you got the LL subband. Then row-wise low-pass filter, column-wise high-pass filter, you got the LH subband. Then row-wise high-pass filter, column-wise low-pass filter, you got the HL subband. And row-wise high-pass filter and column-wise high-pass filter, you get the HS subband. So you know that in LL subband, you get the approximate image because you are doing the low pass filtering, that is nothing but the averaging, and then you get the approximate subband. Then in LH subband, you get all the horizontal orientation in the image. That is, you are detecting horizontal edges. Then in HL subband, you get all vertical orientation in the image. And then in HS subband, you get the diagonal orientation of the image. So this is you got in the first scale. Now in second scale, what you do? Again, LL is further decomposed with four subbands. You got LL1, LL2, LH2, HL2, and so on. So like that way, you are deriving the second level representation from the first level approximate and so on. So that is in the case of wavelet. Already you people are doing a study of this wavelet. So I'm not explaining that wavelet much. So as you go on increasing the scale in the wavelet, you are going very close to the low frequency signal in the image, right? Low spatial frequency. So you are going from high frequency to the low frequency. So when scale is small, your scale is inversely proportional to frequency. When scale is small, you are going to detect the high frequency. As scale goes on increasing, so scale is inversely proportional to the frequency. So as scale goes on increasing, you are going very close to the very minor frequency, or like as the low frequency and so on. So by changing the scale, you are going very close to the low frequency area of the image and so on. So with multiple scale, you are representing that image at multiple scale, and then from multiple scale, you can derive different information. So this T is the parameter of scale parameter. Okay. So this can be done. One is wavelet transform, then another one is Laplacian pyramid is also there. We can see how it can be done. Gaussian pyramid is also there. Okay, so see that scale space representation can be generally described as, see, this is the representation of the scale space. So L of x comma y t. So x comma y t is nothing but your this one space coordinates, and okay, if x comma y is nothing but the spatial coordinate, and t is nothing but at which scale you are obtaining this image. Now for this image, what you are doing, you are using some function tt parameter transformation, and that is convolved with the image f of xy, right? F of xy, this xy should be here, right? F of xy. So this is the original signal which is convolved with some of the transform, and then with the scale t1 and so on. So you get the representation like this one. So at that scale, if you change the scale from T to T1 to T2, you get another representation. From T2 to T3, you get another third representation, and so on. So the main type of scale space is the linear, that is Gaussian scale space. So see that here, the L of x comma y t is the scale space representation of function f. Okay, so this function is nothing but your image, and this is nothing but your transformation, or basically function with which you are doing the scaling of this image. So here Gaussian function is used with scale t. So you know that Gaussian function is given by two-dimensional Gaussian function is given by 1 upon twice by t into e raised to minus x square plus y square, where x and y are the special coordinates of the image and t is nothing but the scale, or you can say that it is sigma, right? Sigma is nothing but your standard deviation of that Gaussian function. So as you change the standard deviation or t, you will get different shape of the Gaussian function, and then you are going to convolve that one with image. So particularly that kind of information, you get it. So convolution is done with the Gaussian function here with the image, and then you get the representation of the image Gaussian convolved with the image, right? So that is also called as this one. Now look at this one. Suppose, for example, this is your image, right? This is at original image scale 0, right? Now by changing the standard deviation from 0 to 1, and if you are convolving that one with the Gaussian function, this image, you got this image, right? Then again, by changing the Gaussian function, the scale from 1 to 16, you got this one, okay? And from 16 to 256, you got this one. So this was basically you were getting the minute details here, and then you are getting the structure of that overall structure. So image is represented with multiple scale by changing the scale, like it was 0 to 1, 1 to 16, and 16 to 256. So by just convolving that Gaussian function with the image, you get the results like this. So this is the scale space representation of the image. So multi-scale image representation, could any low-pass filter G with a parameter T can be used to generate the scale space? No. The smoothing answer is no, because the smoothing filter must not introduce a new spurious structure at the core scale. So structure should not increase. Okay, it should not introduce any new core structure at core scale that do not correspond to the simplification of the corresponding structure at a finite scale. So you cannot use any function as a this one low pass filter for being the scale space approach and so on. Then how to choose a particular type of scale space representation? So establish a set of scale space axioms, and these axioms narrow the possible candidates class. Like for example here, like this is the scale space axioms for linear space representation. So you know that linearity. Okay. So for example, AF TT AF plus BH is equal to ATTF plus BTTH. Means what is basically linearity? You know that simple thing is that in linearity generally we explain, like for example you have the system, and when you are applying input as a x, you get the y output as a y, and or x1, if you are applying input as x1, you get the y1 output. Then second time what you are doing, you are applying input as a x2, you get the output as a y2. And then when you apply input as a x1 plus x2, you get the output as a y1 plus y2. Then that system is said to be a linear system. So if that basically a function also is linear, then it is, if it is shift invariant, or if it is rotationally symmetric, or if it is positivity, then that can be used as a function for scale space representation and so on. So Gaussian scale space is considered the canonical way to generate a linear scale space, since it fulfills all those axioms. Means Gaussian is linear function, it is shift invariance, it is rotation, having a rotational symmetry, and it is also positivity. So if that function is satisfying all those axioms, then that function can be used for scale space representation of the image. So Gaussian scale space is considered the canonical way to generate a linear scale space, since it fulfills all the scale space axioms. Now, as I told you that multi-scale representation by using simple pyramid. Like for example, you have the image, original image like this. So you have this X rows are there and Y columns are there. Now, after alternate rows and columns, if you decimate or remove alternate columns and rows, you get the second image representation, whose number of rows are x by 2 and number of columns are y by 2. Right? Again, from this, if you remove the alternate rows and a column, and then you will get the image like y by 4 and x by 4. So this is small image. Again, if you remove alternate rows and columns from this stage, you get this one. So finally, what you'll get? You'll get finally only 1 pixel. So representation of the original image like this in a pyramidal structure is also a multi-scale representation. See that this is the original scale, and then as scale goes on increasing, okay, you are losing much information, but you are reducing the size also and so on. So hierarchical representation of an image is also called as a pyramidal structure of the image, and in this signal or an image is subject to repeated smoothing and subsampling. Means you are doing the Gaussian filtering, and then subsampling of that one, again representing. So finally, Suppose for example you have 512 by 512 image. So finally you can represent one by one image, but there information will be very less. So you get information at this scale, this scale, this scale, and this scale. So you get multiple level information, and then you can use that information for doing the analysis and so on. Now this can be also done by using simple low pass filtering like as a Gaussian pyramid and so on. So what you're doing, you have the image like this, do the low pass filtering of that one, do the downsampling of that, you get this image. Again, this is filtered, okay, and then downsampled and so on. So like that way you can represent this image with multiple scales. So you can go up to what? Up to 1 by 1 point you can go. So for this filter you are using the Gaussian filter, and then downsampling by alternate by 2 you can do it, and so you can represent this image low pass pyramid and so on. So when the filter is Gaussian based, it is called as the Gaussian pyramid. So this is called as the Gaussian pyramid representation of the image. Like we can also do the bandpass pyramid representation of the image, because if you do the bandpass pyramid of the image representation, then you get the edges also, not only low pass filter information, but you get the high pass information. So how it is obtained for this one bandpass parameter? See, this is obtained by forming the difference between the adjacent levels in a pyramid, where in addition some kind of interpolation is performed between the representation at the adjacent level of the resolution to enable the computation of the pixel-wise differences, right? Okay, so see how it is done. This one, like for example, the bandpass pyramid is also called as the Laplacian pyramid, because it should be called as the difference of Gaussian pyramid, okay, or Laplacian pyramid, is given by roughly smoothing with two Gaussians of different size, then subtracting and subsampling, right? So the Laplacian pyramid we have seen in Laplacian of Gaussian. Okay, so LOZ, we have seen the operator LOZ as well as DOZ. So DOZ is nothing but the difference of Gaussian, two Gaussian function, and you know that difference of two Gaussian function is similar to the Laplacian of Gaussian, right? LOZ. Laplacian of Gaussian, but the difference of Gaussian is having less computation as compared to Laplacian of Gaussian, and then you get the same result. So here, okay, the Laplacian pyramid is computed from the Gaussian pyramid. Like for example, this is the nth level of Laplacian pyramid. P of p raised to L is the nth level. Then again, you are obtaining the nth level Gaussian pyramid from this one. Again, you are using this Gaussian mask for this, and then so like that way you are convolving with the image, and finally you are getting the result. Okay, so look at this one, how it is bandpass pyramid is obtained. Like here, you have this image, okay, and at level 0, and then at level 1, and at level 2, right? Now what you are doing at level 1, okay, you got this weight, okay, you are convolving that image with the Gaussian function, and then you are doing the alternate downsampling of rows and column. You got the resulting image, which is nothing but the Gaussian filtered image, right? What we have done, I will repeat it again. See that this is the original image, okay, I'm calling this as a W, right? Now I'm using this Gaussian function at scale 0, right? And then I'm convolving that one with the image. After convolvement, okay, alternate downsamples are done row-wise and column-wise. So definitely the size after this, the size of Gaussian convolved image will be just half of this one. If it is X and this is Y, then this will be X by 2 and Y by 2. So this is Gaussian convolved image after okay, Gaussian filtering, right? So you got this representation at different scales. Okay, now from this image, okay, if you do the upsampling, see here what you have done. See, not a sampling, this is upsampling instead of yes, it should be P upsampling, right? So after that, okay, what we are doing, we are reconstructing the image here by doing the upsampling. So the size of this upsampled image will be like as this image, okay? But this is reconstructed image, right? And this is your original image. Now reconstructed image and this, okay, this is reconstructed image and this is the original image. If you take the difference, okay, now what you know that after doing the low pass filtering, Gaussian filtering, you are passing the low frequency. So here there will be low frequency, more low spatial frequency component, and then high frequency component will be removed in this one. And then when you are reconstructing that one, so already high spatial frequency component is missing in that one. So you have constructed that image, reconstructed that image. So you got the image size like as this one, and then you are taking just difference between this original image and the reconstructed image. So you got this one. Now what you will get? What you see, this is the reconstructed image and this is the original image. What is there? Here high spatial frequency components are missing, whereas here high spatial frequency as well as low frequency components are present. Now you are okay, subtracting the low spatial frequency component, so only high spatial frequency component will remain here. So that is nothing but Laplacian pyramid, and high spatial frequency component is nothing but your edges. So you can see some of the edges which are visible in this one, right? So some of the edges are visible. And again, what you are doing, this process is repeated by changing the scale of Gaussian function. So you got this image, again the Gaussian function scale is changed, and then you're convolving with this image, and again doing downsampling row and column wise, you got this image, right? So this is the Gaussian convolved image at scale 2. And then again, what you are doing the upsampling of this one. You are reconstructing the image. The size of this reconstructed image will be like this. But what is there? Whatever the high frequency components are there, that will be missing here. And then you have this low frequency component of same size, and here which is high frequency as well as low frequency. So when you are subtracting this low frequency component from this low and high frequency, you'll get only the high frequency. So you get more okay, prominent edges in this one, so as compared to this one. So you get like that. Okay, so so this process is repeated till the, okay, how long? Okay, you can go up to 1 by 1 and so on. So this multi-scale representation bandpass pyramid is also used for edge detection, like Laplacian Gaussian and Laplacian pyramid separately, right? So Gaussian pyramid will give you the low pass filter component, and Laplacian pyramid will give you the high pass filter component. This high pass filter component is how it is done, how it is obtained, just by taking the difference between the original and the low pass. So it will get the high pass. Again, original minus low pass, you get the high pass. Original minus low pass, you get the high pass, and so on. So in that way, high pass special frequency component is nothing but the edges. So you get the edge detection with that one. So how frequency is basically divided in multi-scale representation in pyramidal frequency. Like for example, this is your Gaussian frequency at scale 0. Then after next scale, what you'll get? Your Gaussian frequency will be like this, and this will be Laplacian. Again, it will be at next scale, it will be Gaussian and then Laplacian and so on. So you get the bandpass representation with this one. So this is Laplacian frequency as at scale 2, Laplacian frequency at scale 1, and it is at 0. It should be 0, right? Now, this is the way of Laplacian of Gaussian pyramid. Okay, Laplacian Gaussian pyramid, same thing. Now, scale selection, I think we'll continue this one in our tomorrow's lecture, as well as we will also talk about how to detect the edges in multispectral images. So we'll stop here, and tomorrow we'll see how to do the scale selection in this, and then how to do edge detection in multispectral images. So see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.